This video is coming from a debate that I watched about salvation. Upon watching both sides go back and forth, it hit me that neither side actually set the foundation of what is salvation and who is salvation for. I mean, honestly, how could anybody talk about something without setting a foundation of what they're talking about from the book? It's just pointless arguing. Two people arguing about technically two different things. So that's what this video was about, is defining what salvation is and who it's for, according to the book as it is written. So first we turn to Luke chapter 1, starting at verse 71. It says that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he sware to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us, that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear. So we see here, as it is written in Luke, that salvation is a promise given to a specific people that would be at the hand of their enemies. This is like clockwork. Just keep it pushing. Now our second witness comes from Exodus 14 and 30. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of Mizraim, and Israel saw the Mizraim dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which the Lord did upon the Mizraim, and the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. So we see another witness which shows the same thing. Israel being saved from the hand of their enemies, because the Mizraim, which is Egypt, was not their friends. This is law. This is law. You see what I'm saying? This is the foundation of salvation before you get to people's favorite testaments. As you go to Deuteronomy 5 and 6, says, I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Mizraim. We just read about that, okay? From the house of bondage. If a nation has your people in bondage, they are your enemies. Therefore, you need to be saved from your enemies. This is not rocket science. Let's keep it pushing. Now, as we go to Numbers 10 and 9, and if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresses you, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and you shall be what? Saved from your enemies. Just like we read about the Mizraim. Okay, now let's go to our next one. Deuteronomy 33 and 29. Happy are you, O Israel, who is like unto you, Israel, O people, what? Saved by the Lord, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thine excellency, and your enemies shall be found liars unto you, and you shall tread upon their high places. Notice this all runs in the parallel line of what salvation is, being saved from your enemies, and who it's for, the nation of Israel, because it was promised to their father Abraham. Okay, now let's go to 1 Samuel 10 and 19. And you Israel, have this day rejected your God, who himself saved you out of all your adversities and your tribulations. And you have said unto him, Nay, but set a king over us. Now therefore present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and by your thousands. All right, now as we go to our next witness in Nehemiah 9, starting at 26. This is one of my favorite ones because it just covers everything, right? It says, nevertheless, they, Israel, notice how all of this is possessive, were disobedient and rebelled against you and cast thy law behind their backs. This is the only nation given the law. And slew thy prophets which testified against them to turn them to you, and they wrought great provocations. Therefore you delivered them into the hands of their enemies. That's the reason why. Cutie pie, that's the reason why. Who vexed them, and in the time of their trouble, when they cried unto you, you heard them from heaven, and according to thy manifold mercies, you gave them saviors, who what? Saved them out of the hand of their enemies. Notice how this doesn't change. The Most High changes not. Now our next witness comes from 3rd Maccabees 2 and 13. Now from this we see how a lot of people say things and don't know what they mean. For example, being saved from their sins. So that's not a religious concept. We just read about someone being placed into the hand of their enemies and why. This is why and how we would need to be saved from our enemies. It says, see now, Holy King, how through our many and great sins we are borne down and made subject to our enemies and are become weak and powerless. So from 3rd Maccabees we see the I'll say even more foundation of what it means to be saved from our sins / enemies. When you sin and you piss the Most High off, he makes you subject to your enemies. Therefore you would need to be saved from them. This is not quantum physics. Let's get our next witness. Now as we turn to Psalms 44 and 7, it never changes. I can't stress that enough. But you have what? Saved us, possessive, from our enemies, and has put them to shame that what? Hated us. Now this next witness is where we get the famous quote from John 3:16 from. This is Isaiah 45 and 17. It says, but Israel shall be what? Saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Now we see clearly here that salvation is for a specific people, and when you know the history of salvation, you see why these people would need it in the first place, and that there was a promise made to this people's father Abraham. It's very possessive. It's not a religious concept. It's very realistic in nature, where somebody, if there's a bully and a kid being bullied, who needs to be saved? The bully and the kid getting his ass beat, or just the kid getting his ass beat? It's not rocket science. Why does the bully, who does the bully need to be saved from? It makes no sense. Now as we go to our next witness, it is Jeremiah 3 and verse 23. It says, truly in vain is what? Salvation hoped for from the hills, and from the multitude of the mountains Truly in the Lord our God is the salvation of Israel. It's not a bunch of different people. It's unnecessary for salvation to be for the people who is basically the bully on the playground that's beating the hell out of Israel. It doesn't make it. I don't even know where that comes from. I think it comes from, salvation sounds like a pleasant thing, so therefore it's expected to be for all people, but it's a contract that was never promised to all people's forefathers. That's one thing I think people just forget about, because they want something because it sounds so pleasant. Now, as we shift back into most people's favorite testament, we go to Matthew 18 and 11, and that says, "For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost." Now, this is in connection in the same book, Matthew 15 and 24. It says, "But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So he's coming to save which was lost. What was lost was the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Somebody would say, well, are all people on earth lost? It's specific because of a contract. I'm coming to save that which is lost, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, because of their forefather Abraham. Abraham had a promise with the Most High. It's possessive. It's not somebody had an idea in the 21st century that salvation is now all. No, it doesn't work like that. Those are all new concepts. It's not Bible. Now, as we continue in most people's favorite testament, okay, I say favorite, we go to Acts 13 and 47. It says, "For so has Yah commanded us, saying, I have set ye to be a light of the Gentiles, that you should be for salvation unto the ends of the earth." Now, from this trips people up for the reasons that people are lazy. People will see the word Gentile and make this to be magically, with no precept work, anything that's not an Israelite. That's completely false. Then they'll remix it with the word salvation. Now they've created a doctrine when they see Gentile salvation in ends of the earth. But what people don't know is that this Acts 13 and 47 is a quote from Isaiah 49 and verse 6. Let's get that. It says, "And he said, it is a light thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give you for a light to the Gentiles, that ye may be my salvation unto the ends of the earth." So from this, we have, I'm just going to deal with the top part for now, okay? I'm going to cover the other part, but let's do things decently and in order. We see that we have raised up the tribes of Jacob. That's the point. And to restore the preserved of Israel. And then to be a light to the Gentiles. Now, again, I've seen people try to remix this, which is the foundational quote, okay, from Acts, where they'll make these Gentiles just any non-Israelite. That's the problem. So the first thing you see is that it's to raise up the tribes of Jacob. Then on the left hand side, restore the preserved of Israel. Now these Gentiles are the unpreserved of Israel, therefore they would need light, as promised also in this same book, but that's another story. Okay, see, preserved just means set apart. is the Hebrew word shamar, as you see here. It doesn't mean that automatically someone that's unpreserved is a non-Israelite. Okay, we're going to keep it pushing, and we're going to show that as we shift to Matthew 4 and 15. What I'm going to do is show you that there were Israelites that were unpreserved, therefore they were called Gentiles. It says the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, which again, most people in churchianity don't have a clue what these two names are, or I should say tribes, because I know better. By the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. Okay, now these two tribes are sons, which are patriarchs. They are descendants of Jacob. Okay, now remember, we're talking about raising up the tribes of Jacob. Okay, let's see who those tribes are. Okay, so Jacob got it popping with these 4 women. He had 2 wives and 2 concubines. Those are the mothers of the tribes of Israel. These are the patriarchs of each tribe. Okay, Issachar, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Oh, look at this. Zebulun. Not every tribe consisted of Jews. That's what most people think. That's ignorant. We keep going. We see Dan. Then we have Naphtali. Okay. Naphtali and Zebulun. That's what we're talking about in Matthew. These are tribes of Israel being called Gentiles. That's the connection. That's how you see it clear as day that there are tribes of Jacob that would need light. Zebulun, Naphtali, Galilee of the Gentiles. This is precept upon precept as it is written. So when we go to Isaiah 49 and 6, it tells you verbatim that it's to raise up the tribes, plural, of Jacob. Some of the tribes would be preserved, they'll be restored, and to also give light to those Gentiles of Jacob that were not preserved, because not all the sons of Abraham believed in God. Now, like I promised, the second part of this Isaiah 49 and 6, people will read this and remix it, and they'll make it to say these Gentiles, because they don't have a clue that Israelites were called Gentiles, as I've just shown, as it is written. They'll say Gentiles, and then that salvation and ends of the earth means this is to non-Israelites. That's completely false. As we go to Deuteronomy 4 and 27, it says, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. We see that the you is Israel. They are going to be amongst other people. Now, since this doesn't break that promise to Abraham, that's why I opened up with that. It doesn't break that just because they're among other people. This is why salvation would need to be sent among the ends of the earth, because there's a promise to certain people which were scattered to those nations among the ends of the earth. Let's get another witness. Okay, John 7 and 35. Then said the Jews, this is the southern kingdom. Again, people are lazy. They'll see Jews and remix this to make it all Israel. Well, we just read that there was Naphtali and Zebulun. Those are other tribes, okay? They are not Jews, but they are Israelite. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? We just read that the people will be scattered among the heathen. Let's get another witness to show this. Okay, this is You can't be lazy and think you're going to be wise. You just going to look like a fool listening to your pastor, okay? You go to Micah 5:8. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest. I did a lesson on nations being called beasts. As a young lion among the flocks of sheep. That's it in relevant part. We see that Jacob is going to be amongst other nations, just like a lion among the beasts of the forest. It's a synonym or parable, if you will. Now remember, we're addressing salvation being sent to the ends of the earth, because there was people scattered to the ends of the earth to which salvation pertained to. Okay, let's go to Amos 9:9. It says, for lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations. Probably because they were spread out to all nations in the first place. All right, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. Now, with all of this in mind, as we revisit Acts 13:47, we have a total and full biblical understanding of light to the Gentiles, which was those unpreserved Israelites, and that these Israelites were cast upon different nations. They were sent among the heathen, which is why this salvation would need to be taught and sent to the ends of the earth, because that's where these people were. Okay, that's what Isaiah 49:6 is talking about, which is the quote from Acts 13:47. I know the religious groups want to make this, they want to make something that was specifically engineered for select people. They're trying to make it to where it's now other people, and they twist certain scriptures to make it look that way so they can get paid. That's wickedness. But you see here that I gave a couple of examples. There's more, but that's just a couple for now, to show how a couple of scriptures can be a stumbling block to people that don't fully understand. They read something and they're probably just too lazy or don't know how to get the understanding of the Bible, because it's through thy precepts we get understanding. That's all I have for now, as it is written, and I'm out.